Right now, somewhere in your backyard, your driveway cracks, your garden border, your lawn, there are plants growing that you have spent years trying to kill. You've pulled them, sprayed them, smothered them with mulch, and every single spring, they come back. What if I told you those plants are more nutritious than anything currently growing in your raised beds? What if the thing you've been destroying is worth more than the thing you've been carefully tending? The average American household spends over $500 a year on lawn care. A significant portion of that money goes toward killing exactly these plants. This video covers 6 common weeds, plants you almost certainly already have right now, and why they outperform conventional vegetable gardens on nutrition, market value, and one thing no seed catalog will ever sell you. By the end of this video, you will never look at your lawn the same way again. Before the herbicide industry convinced an entire generation that a perfect lawn was the goal, dandelion was considered a valuable crop. European settlers brought it to North America deliberately. They planted it on purpose. Let that sit for a second. A plant that now gets Roundup sprayed on it every spring was once carefully transported across an ocean as a food source. That expensive lawn care habit is literally poisoning a free food system. Let's start with the one that's probably growing closest to you right now. Number 6, dandelion. Bright yellow flower, toothed leaves, white puffball seed head. You know exactly what this looks like. The plant you've been poisoning that's more nutritious than kale. 100 grams of dandelion greens, a handful, contains 558% of your daily recommended vitamin K, more beta-carotene than a carrot, more calcium per calorie than a glass of milk, and every single part of the plant is edible. The root, roasted and ground as a coffee substitute or dried and used for centuries in traditional wellness practices, sells for $12 a bag at health food stores. Spinach, one of the most celebrated superfoods, requires prepared soil, regular watering, protection from bolting, and replanting every season. Dandelion requires nothing. It breaks through compacted soil. It survives frost. It produces from April through October and comes back every year from a taproot that goes 18 inches deep. But dandelion, as impressive as it is mostly vitamins. What comes next is the weed that solves the one gap most survival gardens can never fill. Number 5, purslane. Thick, succulent-like stems, small, rounded leaves. It hugs close to the ground. The only land plant that gives you omega-3s, like fish. Purslane contains between 300 to 400 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid per 100 gram serving. That is more omega-3 fatty acids than any other leafy green plant on Earth. Most people spend $20 to $30 a month on fish oil supplements to hit that number. Purslane gives it to you for free from your garden bed, and it will grow back next week without you doing anything. It's a C4 photosynthesis plant, which means it thrives in conditions that kill conventional vegetables. Drought, heat, poor soil, full neglect. While your tomatoes are wilting in August, purslane is at peak growth. If purslane is the supplement you're already growing and destroying, what comes next is the protein source that's been hiding in plain sight. Number 4, lamb's quarters. Blue-green leaves with a dusty white coating underneath, diamond-shaped, often mistaken for spinach. The forgotten grain crop that actually outperforms it on protein. Native American tribes across the continent cultivated lamb's quarters intentionally, harvesting both the leaves and the seeds. The seeds are tiny and black, similar to quinoa, which makes sense because lamb's quarters and quinoa are in the same plant family. The leaves contain 4.2 grams of protein per 100 grams raw, more than spinach. They also deliver iron, calcium, riboflavin, and vitamins A and C. Cook them exactly like spinach. They wilt down the same way. Most people who are growing spinach 20 feet away are spending money on seeds, preparing soil, managing slugs, and replanting every season. The lamb's quarters 3 feet from that bed is doing it for free. But here's where the story gets more interesting. Because the next two weeds on this list don't just feed you, they've been used by traditional cultures as functional foods for thousands of years. And that's a dimension most content about this subject never touches. The next plant on this list solves the one gap every survival garden has, and almost nobody knows it exists. Number 3, wood sorrel. Heart-shaped leaves in clusters of 3, small yellow or white flowers. Most people walk right past it. The vitamin C source that's growing in your lawn right now. Most people who find it assume it's clover and ignore it. It isn't clover. Wood sorrel gets its sour, citrusy flavor from oxalic acid, the same compound that makes rhubarb tart. And that flavor is your indicator that it's one of the better wild sources of vitamin C available. Vitamin C is one of the first deficiencies that appears in diets that have shifted toward stored grains and starches. It was the reason sailors died of scurvy on long voyages. Not starvation, but the absence of fresh plant material. Wood sorrel grows in partial shade, spaces where almost nothing else thrives. Under trees, along north-facing fence lines, in the shadowed edges of garden beds. It fills the dead zones. Number 2, clover. 3-lobed leaves low to the ground, white or red flower heads. It's in almost every untreated lawn in North America. The nitrogen factory you've been mowing into nothing. Red clover and white clover are nitrogen-fixing legumes. Their root systems host bacteria that pull nitrogen directly from the atmosphere and deposit it into the soil, the same biological process that makes beans valuable in rotation planting. Except clover does it as a perennial over a much larger root area without you doing anything. Before synthetic fertilizers existed, farmers planted clover specifically to restore depleted fields. It was a crop, a deliberate, valuable crop. Then synthetic nitrogen made that unnecessary, and we started treating it as a weed. Dried red clover flowers sell for $8 to $15 per ounce at herbal retailers. You can harvest them from your lawn for free. The seeds can be sprouted indoors in winter for fresh greens, ready in 4 days. But everything on this list, as useful as it is, gets surpassed by what comes next, because the final weed produces food before anything else can, before your seeds have even germinated, before your raised beds have thawed. It is the only plant on this list that functions as a full early spring survival crop. Number 1, chickweed. Tiny oval leaves, delicate white star-shaped flowers, trailing stems that form dense mats close to the ground. The spring superfood that arrives before your garden does. In most temperate climates, chickweed starts growing in February or March, weeks before the last frost date, weeks before any cultivated vegetable can be safely started outside. In any food security scenario, The most dangerous period is late winter into early spring, the gap between depleted stores and the first harvest. Chickweed fills that gap. It grows when nothing else will, and it tastes genuinely good, mild, slightly grassy, texture similar to baby spinach. Nutritionally, it delivers vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, and iron. One plant produces 800 seeds. Those seeds can remain viable in soil for up to 10 years. Once chickweed finds your garden, it is part of your garden permanently, providing fresh greens every late winter for the rest of the time you grow food on that land. Now step back and look at what we actually have here. 6 plants. Not one of them costs money. Not one of them requires seeds from a catalogue, prepared soil, irrigation infrastructure, or any growing knowledge beyond being able to recognize them. Combined, they deliver omega-3, vitamin C, protein, calcium, iron, nitrogen fertility, early spring greens, and medicine. We are paying to destroy a free food system that has been trying to establish itself in our yards for decades. The food system we're protecting our lawns for, the grocery store supply chain, the seed catalogs, the fertilizer inputs, is the fragile one. The weeds are the resilient one. They've survived every ice age, every drought, every agricultural revolution, and they'll survive whatever comes next. The question isn't whether these plants can feed you. They already can. The question is whether you'll let them. If you've been building out a garden this season, the next thing worth understanding is which cultivated crops actually complement what these weeds are already doing. The ones that fill the calorie and storage gaps without duplicating what's already growing wild. That video covers exactly which 8 crops work best alongside a forage system, and why most survival gardens miss the most important one entirely.